Now we're ready to edit the 3 pages that you just downloaded from the zip file. The first page we're going to edit is mainpage.html, this file here. What we want to do is open it with a plain text editor. I'm working on Windows, and the appropriate application to use is available through Accessories, and it's called Notepad. So let's open that application. And now we're going to browse for the file that I just showed you a moment ago. In order to see the HTML files, we need to go down here where it says Files of Type and select All Files, so that we're not limited to seeing just files with the TXT extension. Here's the file I want, mainpage.html. So we select that, we click Open, and now this file has opened within this plain text editor. Don't worry if you don't know HTML and if a lot of this looks like gobbledygook. I'll guide you through the few changes you need to make in this and the other files so that you end up with a nice looking web page with an image map. The only thing we're going to do at this point is change the title. Notice this text here that says Insert Title of your Image Map Project here. What you want to do is erase what I've written and instead actually type the title you want. So, title of my project. Obviously you won't call your project title of my project, but whatever your project is called. And then select File, Save, and now we're done with that file. We'll come back to edit this file a little bit later once we have the content that will be inserted here. But for right now we'll close this and we'll move on to the next file in the group. You have two ways of opening files in Windows. You can either choose the open the application and then do File, Open As, or you can mouse over, right click the image and do Open With. So we want to open this not with a browser. Windows wants to open this with a browser because it sees that HTML extension. Instead, we want to open it in Notepad so that we can edit the HTML. Description of project.html is the file that contains the stuff that will appear in the right frame when the person first opens your image map. You should obviously consult with your instructor about what content belongs in this page, but in general what you're going to want to include here is a discussion of your project and or the significance of the image that you've chosen for your project. So what you want to do is keep all of the HTML tags in place. The HTML tags are the things including in between these greater than and less than signs. So leave those all in place, but delete the bogus text that I've put in there and then put in your own text. So here is my first paragraph. Here is my second paragraph. Again, note that I'm not removing the HTML. Whoops. Here is my third paragraph. An interesting thing to note about HTML is it doesn't care about carriage returns. It will actually treat the carriage return that I just entered as a space, whoops, rather than an actual carriage return. So you can't format the text by inserting things like carriage returns. And indeed, because this is a plain text editor, you have no options for bolding and italicizing things. If you want to do that latter sort of stuff, somewhat fancier HTML, and you don't know how to edit it using a plain text editor, you should get access to a copy of Dreamweaver or some HTML editing program and edit the text that way. Let's suppose that we only have 3 paragraphs, so we can delete these latter placeholders. We want to make sure, though, that we keep this stuff here, the caret / body caret / HTML. We want to keep that in place, but we can remove all this other stuff. So I'll select it, delete it, and now I save the file. And now we're done with that file. Again, let's close it. And now we're going to open this file here, commentary write frame template.html. Again, I right click on it, I choose open with Notepad. Now this file is going to be saved several different iterations, one copy for each hotspot that's included on your image map. The first thing we want to do is figure out which particular hotspot this file is going to contain the commentary of. Let's suppose that this is commenting on the soldiers. So I might want to title this something like soldiers or commentary on soldiers, whatever. As before, I've included some text that you're ultimately going to delete and write over. So this will be, here is my first paragraph. Here is my second paragraph. I have a hard time spelling paragraph. I think it's one of those tricky things to type. Here is my third paragraph. And as before, let's assume that we're just going to have 3 paragraphs. So we want to keep this closing HTML set of tags in place, but delete everything else. Now we don't do file save, but rather file save as, because we want to name this file something other than commentary write frame template.html. So we choose save as. Now we get a save as window. Let's go ahead and save it in the same folder, image map project, but we're going to call it soldiers.html. And notice something very important under save as type. We need to select all files. Otherwise, Notepad is going to insert a .txt extension on the file, which we don't want. So that's a very important step. Make sure that you end up with the right extension on the file. So once we've renamed it with this new file name and we've selected all files, we can click Save. And now it saves this file. In general, you're going to have several of these copies of the right template. So let's go ahead and close this and start over again. Again, going back to the commentary write frame template and opening it again in Notepad. So here again, we insert the title for this particular hotspot. So let's say this is the one corresponding to the trees. And again, I want to delete all of the stuff that I gave you in terms of instructions, and you want to type in the text that you want to appear when someone clicks on that hotspot. So here is my first paragraph. Again, we're discovering my inability to type that word correctly. Here is my second paragraph. Let's suppose there's just 2 paragraphs for this particular file, so we can go ahead and close, we can go ahead and delete the paragraph placeholders that we're not using, making sure to keep these closing HTML tags in place. And we do File, Save As. Remember, that's very important. We don't want to save the file with this file name. File, Save As. We'll call this trees.html. And again, we make sure that all files is selected so that Notepad doesn't overwrite the extension we've offered with the file extension txt. With this done, we click Save, and now we're finished editing these files.